Welcome everybody, welcome to a new Djembe breakdown, and in this video we're going to break down one of my own Djembe snacks, Djembe snack number 2, and it's for more advanced players, but even if you are a beginner, I'm going to break it down in a way that is accessible, accessible for most people, so you can challenge yourself, and it's a great way to enhance your vocabulary as a Djembe follower, listening, breaking down and practicing new techniques. Yeah, it's a great way to have more things to say. So I'm going to demonstrate it right now and then we'll break it down. So get ready, we will dive deep. Here we go. So that's what we are going to break down today. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? We will first divide the solo, the snack, into 4 parts. So let's go. The first part is going to be this one. So let's begin. We will just play the first technique. We'll play 1 slap, 2 tones, and 1 slap, starting with our dominant hand. Slap, tone, tone, slap. And the first beat is on the first slap. Slap, tone, tone, slap. This is a technique, so we will play this technique 3 times. And then in the end, we will play 1 slap and 1 bass, starting with our dominant hand. Slap, bass, just to finish. So from the beginning. And now we will do the same thing again, but we will start everything with our other hand. But it will be the same thing. So starting with our other hand. So from the beginning of this first part of the solo. Done. So now let's go to the second part of this first part of the solo, this one. We will play 4 tones, starting with our dominant hand, 1 hand after the other, and the first tone is on the first beat. Tone, 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 tone. And now we will add a bass right before the first tone. Bass, tone, 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 tone. And now we will add another bass right after the tones. Bass, tone, 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 bass. So 1, 2, 3, and bass, tone, 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 bass. This is the technique, and now what we will do is we are going to alternate between tones. We are going to do the same technique, alternating between tones and slaps 4 times. So the first time tone, and then slap, tone, and slap again. So. And that's it. So from the beginning of the solo, now cut, and let's go to the second part of the solo. Now on this second part of the solo, it's very similar. It's very similar as the first part of the solo, it just has a little bit more flavor to it. So let's begin. So the first technique, it's very similar to the first one. So we will play 2 slaps, 2 tones, and 1 slap, starting with our dominant hand. Slap, slap, tone, tone, slap. And just like in the beginning, we are going to repeat this technique 3 times. But here we are going to change the hand. So the first time we start with our dominant hand. The second time we do the same thing, but starting with our other hand. And the third time we go back, starting with our dominant hand again. So. And in the end, we will play just like in the beginning. We will play 1 slap and 1 tone, starting with our other hand. Or 1 slap and 1 bass, rather. So from the beginning of this second part of the solo, one, two, three, and karaguruga, 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 ka, boom. And now we will do again the same thing, but now we will play the 3 times the technique, starting always with our dominant hand, without changing the hand. So once again, from the beginning of this second part of the solo, the first time we do this technique, we changed hands. And the second time, we don't change hands. So. And now let's go to the second part of this second part of the solo, the second segment of the solo. So. Once again, very similar to the first part of the solo, just has a little bit more flavor to it. So let's break this down. We will play the same way, not in the same way, but similarly. We are going to play 4 tones, starting with our dominant hand. Tone, 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 tone. The last 2 tones are played a little bit closer together. And the first tone is on the first beat. 1, 2, 3, and tone, 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 tone. And now once again, we are going to add a bass note right before the first tone. So 1, 2, 3, and bass tone, 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 tone. And once again, we are going to add another bass after, in the end. Bass, tone, 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 bass. 1, 2, 3, and bass, tone, 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 bass. And bass, tone, 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 bass. And bass, tone, 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 bass. And just like in the first part of the solo, we're going to repeat this 4 times, alternating between tones and slaps. So this technique that we already know how to play, we are going to play this technique 4 times, alternating between the first time with tones and the second time playing with slaps, third time with tones, fourth time with slaps. So alright, so let's go from the beginning of this second part of the solo. Karaguruga, 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 ka. And now in the end of this technique, we are going to play one slap with our other hand. And this slap is just basically serving as a small bridge for the next technique. Alright, so now cut and let's go to the third part of the solo. This is the most challenging part, so get ready. And this technique is a technique from Bafude. And yeah, I learned this technique from Bafude, from Gura. So let's go for this third part of the solo, this technique. We start playing 3 tones, 3 slaps, 3 tones and 3 slaps, starting with our dominant hand, one hand after the other. Ton, 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 slap, 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 ton, 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 slap, slap, slap. And the first tone is on the first beat. And after that, we will play 2 tones and 4 slaps, starting with our dominant hand again. Ton, ton, slap, 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 slap. So from the beginning of this technique, one, two, three, and ton, 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 slap, 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 ton, 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 slap, 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 ton, ton, slap, 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 slap. 1, 2, 3, and kurugu karaga, kurugu karaga, kurugu garagara. 3 and now let's go to the next part. So we will play a bass with our other hand and 2 slaps with the same dominant hand. And remember, where we come from, we finished the last technique, kuru kara kara. We finished with our other hand, and now we're going to repeat the same hand to start this part of the technique. We will play a bass note with this hand, with our other hand. So bass note with our other hand and 2 slaps with our dominant hand. And the first slap is on the first beat. Bass slap, slap. And after that, we will play 3 tones, starting with our other hand. Ton, ton, ton. One, two, three, and 1, 2, 3, and bass slap, slap, ton, ton, ton. And after that, now we'll play 3 slaps and 2 tones, starting with our other hand. So here again, we are going to repeat the same hand again. So we come from, and now we're going to start with the same hand again. 4 slaps and 2 tones. Slap, 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 tone, tone. So let's play just this part a few times. This. 1, 2, 3, and. 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 And now let's go to finish this technique. We're almost there. We again, where we come from the last part, we are going to repeat again the same hand, our other hand, and we will play 1 slap, 3 tones, and 4 slaps. So from the beginning of this technique that we just practiced a little bit. One, 2, 3, and gang gang kurugu karaga gung gung kakurugu karagara. 3 and. 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 So let's go to the beginning of this third part of the solo. Kurugu karaga kurugu karaga kuru karaga ingangang kurugu karaga gung gung kaguru karaga. So it's done, this part, and now let's go to the final part. This one that we just went over is the most complicated, most challenging. It's understandable if it's a little bit confusing, but it's all clear. So if it's a little bit confusing to you, just go back and everything's there. So now let's go to the third part, to the fourth part of the solo, fourth and final part. So this part is simple. One slap and one bass, starting with our other hand. You can play with your you can play the other way if you want. You can start with your dominant hand if you want. But yeah, one slap with our other hand and one tone with our dominant hand. After that, 2 tones and one slap, starting with our dominant hand. So from the beginning, and then we finish with the bass with our other hand. So and the first slap is on the first beat. Kagum kurugaku kagum kurugaku kagum kuruga pum kapum kuruga pum kagum kuruga kum kapum kuruga pum. And we play this 8 times, I think. Yes, we play this technique 8 times. So let's go again from the beginning. This technique 8 times. So in the end, we just played a normal call. You all probably already know. It's just a normal 4/4 call. But instead of playing the whole call, we just play the until the third beat. And then a close slap in the end. 1, 2, 3, and slap. So once again, from the beginning of this fourth and final part of the solo, 8 times, and then the call until the third beat, and a close slap in the end. And we are done. 22 minutes. Impressive. So yeah, that's it. This is the breakdown. So let's do a very quick recap. Let's go to the beginning and recap the first part of the solo. So once again, ka kuruga 3 times. And then a slap and a bass in the end. And then the second time we start with our other hand. And then we go to the second part of this first part of the solo. Which is simply 4 tones with the bass right before and the bass after. And we play it 4 times. The first time we play the technique with tones, the second time we play the technique with slaps, then tones, and then slaps. And now we go to the second part of the solo. This technique 3 times, alternating between hands. And then just like in the beginning, a slap and a tone in the end. And now we repeat the same thing, but we play the technique always starting with the same hand, with our dominant hand. And then we have to play this slap in the end of the technique because it will serve as the bridge for the next part of the solo. And so the next part of the solo, the third part, ton 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 sa sa slap, ton 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 sa sa slap, ton ton sa sa slap. This part is fairly simple. Now end this part, and now we go to the fourth and final part of the solo. 8 times, and then after the 8th time, the call. Then done. Recap. So now let's do it together, the whole thing, very slowly, and then we'll do a fast version as well. So let's start slowly for the first time, the first one. One, two, three, and I messed up in that transition, but let's do it again a little bit slower. If I seem nervous, it's because I'm watching. You don't see this, but I'm watching my time. I don't have memory, so I'm almost running out. But I have time. I still have time for this. So let's go again, slowly from the beginning. One, two, three, and done. Now let's go to normal tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. And voila, it's done. Half an hour, everything broken down, crystal clear. Djembe snack number 2, and there's much more other snacks to go. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Enhance your vocabulary as a djembe follower, listen more, practice more. And I will see you in the next video, in the next breakdown. Be well.